All right, hopefully we are recording. I'm Sammy and I'm with Hailey today, and we are going to be talking about adjusting to life on campus, whether it's your first year, whether it's your fourth year, just kind of getting back into the swing of things. We just want to talk about general coping skills and things that you can kind of put in your toolbox. So take it away, Hailey.
Yeah. So kind of what Sammy said, a little bit about us. Sammy and I are, Sammy is a postmaster counselor here at the Counseling Center. I am an intern here I'm completing my clinical mental health counseling program at App State. We're both counselors at the Counseling Center at App State. So we're doing this to kind of do some reaching out to everyone who maybe not be working with us personally, but kind of there's a resource that's available to everyone. Like she said, just having this resource available to talk about adjusting to campus and then balancing all of those changes that are included in that. Talking about things like stress and self-care, communication with self and others, barriers of support, and also providing resources that are available to you.
So we want you to pause and just take a minute, pause this video, whatever you need to do. And Hailey has a question for you to reflect on.
So just take a few minutes, get some notebook paper out, or kind of just brainstorm in your mind, whatever works best for you. But how do you feel that you've been adjusting to change with college? After you spend a little bit of time with that, kind of reflect on, how's COVID impacted this adjustment?
All right. Yeah. Anything else, Hailey? Okay. All right. So you might have written some of these down, but some things that we were thinking of as not only a student, but as a human being, you might have a balancing act of several different things. So family members, being a friend, maintaining some sort of social life during COVID and what that looks like, even there's barriers there. Again, academics, so homework, tests, study groups, things like that. Keeping up with professors, keeping up with appointments, assignments, the whole shebang. Being in relationships or friendships, partnerships, whatever that looks like, maintaining that on top of all your responsibilities. And also, again, that humanness coming in of when do you have time for yourself, and taking care of you within all your roles, and also exploring who am I in this position. And college is a really big time for identity development, whether it's career related or just personally related. So all those things with dorm life, roommates, and just a whole new environment of being on campus and back in person for the first time in a while for some of us. So lots of things to think about.
So another kind of little activity for us, for you, get out some paper again or whatever feels comfortable for you, but kind of just take a moment to reflect on what are some of the feelings that you've experienced since coming to campus. I want you to really kind of tune in and be honest with yourself about what's going on and what has this adjustment been like for you.
Yeah, so pause the video if you need, and we're gonna keep going, so you unpause us when you're ready. I think one of the main things that Hailey and I talked about was communication skills. Sometimes it's hard to say, I'm struggling with adjusting, or I'm just needing support and I'm not really sure how. So just being able to communicate with others, who are your support systems, professors, mentors, advisors, there's a whole list here of things that we know exist, but sometimes it's hard to take the initiation to make that first point of contact. So even on the student learning center on campus, they have a page with communication skills for email etiquette and how to communicate with professors. So that could be really helpful too, in terms of how do you start this email and how do you ask for what you need. And that's kind of under effective communication. So maybe it's just pausing and thinking, okay, like I'm having a tough time, or this feels more stressful than usual. What is it that I need, or what is it that I need support on? Asking questions to those around you, asking your friends, like, hey, is this something that you struggled with, or something that you've gotten help with, or do you know any resources that I can utilize? Exchange those ideas, and being able to listen to others. I'm sure during my first syllabus week, there's tons of information being shared, but keeping those in mind, and being open to new opportunities for communication and relationships. And then the internal piece, there's like all these external pieces, and sometimes we forget that communicating with ourselves is important. And so really validating of what you're going through is stressful, and there's a lot of adjustment periods and lots of components that affect that. So giving yourself the self-compassion of, a lot of people are going through this. There's tons of resources available, and there's definitely always support that you can find. And allowing yourself to do that, reach out to someone.
Along with communication, a huge part is navigating interpersonal relationships. And I'm sure some of you know what that is, but if you don't, an interpersonal relationship is an association between two or more people, and it can range in dynamic. That can be friendships, partnerships, family, really kind of any interaction between two or more people. So here, like, you had what was happening before you came to college, in your hometown, at your high school. You had changes in family dynamics, partners, and relationships. Maybe you're navigating like a long-term relationship now, or maybe, your family really wants to talk to you every single day, but you're enjoying your time at campus and you don't really want to talk to them. So figuring out how to navigate that relationship, and now that it's different and you're not in immediate contact with them all the time. Same goes with old friends. I put that in quotes because I'm sure they're still feeling, like friends to you, and still very new, but there's changes. Maybe they're at different universities than you are. Maybe they didn't go to school and they're staying and working, and figuring out how to stay in contact with them and maintain that relationship if that's what you want to do with the distance and the change that's happened. Along with that is new friends. You got your old ones, there's some new ones, and challenges in making new friends and new classmates. I mean, COVID kind of makes that challenging, and maybe you have some classes on Zoom, so you don't really get to interact with your classmates in the way that you're used to and in the past. And maybe you want to try new things, but you don't have the opportunity to do so, or feeling challenged and where to seek that out. It's all very valid. And then also professors and mentors. That's got to be a big change, I guess. You go from your high school classroom to these professors, and it's bigger classrooms and different dynamics, and all these different aspects that go into this college experience, and how to interact with people in that process. So something that Sammi and I talked about too are these barriers of support. This first slide kind of focuses more on what might be going on internally for you. And that first step can kind of be like, maybe for you, seeking support looks like a sign of weakness, or like, I should be able to do this on my own, or I don't want people to see me struggling. And that's valid, that's real. I mean, this is the first time maybe in your life that you've ever really had to seek support. And we don't want to take that away from you, but there is support that's available. So the next step of that is like, maybe you don't really know what you need. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, I do need help, or help would be nice, but I don't really know what's going on, and I don't know how support would be the best for me. So along with that, maybe you're not sure what might be helpful. What do I need? Do I need counseling? Do I need a club? Do I need a sports team? Do I just need to talk to my professor? So really tuning in and figuring out what you need, and the ways to get that support is helpful. And then the final step to that is like, okay, you admitted you need support, and you know what you need, and you know what kind of support you need, but how do I get it? What's available, whether it's on this campus or in the community? Where do I look? And along with that, there's so many other barriers of support that are just a little bit more human functioning. COVID-19, there's health concerns and additional stressors of distance and masks and all these other aspects that go into making these relationships a little challenging and making this experience maybe not the college experience that you were really expecting. Nutrition and fueling your body. Maybe you're eating differently now that you're on campus. Food is different. You're exposed to different things. You don't have family or friends cooking for you, or culturally different foods. Going to the food court or central, there's only so many things available. So it's relearning what your body needs with the resources that are available. Increased workload and time management, professors and online classes and homework and tests and all of these things that go into it. And maybe you didn't have to study in high school and you're feeling like you do now, and navigating that can be kind of challenging. Also, along with the COVID-19, isolation, potential decrease in social support and opportunities. Campus is big, and Boone seems really big too. And so, it's hard to feel like maybe you don't have your clique or your crew to hang out with, and you don't know, you're feeling kind of alone in that, or you don't get along with your roommate or your dorm mate. Those are all real. Also, lack of movement. We're on the computer so much more than we have been ever before. I understand sometimes the gym can be uncomfortable for people, or you're not used to this weather and being outside isn't comfortable for you, and working out or just getting your body moving. Figuring out what's available in a way that feels comfortable for you will be really helpful. And the last of that is rest and sleep. Maybe you have a roommate and you sleep 2 feet away from them, and that's new to you. Or, maybe you're just having a good time and you're staying out late and having to wake up early. That sleep can be so different, but it can be a huge aspect of your mental health and well-being.
Mm-hmm. Love that one, especially the college culture of go, go, go.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, we're like, what does stress even look like? We know it exists. Sometimes it's just like this general big thing of stress, like this big ball of stress. So we wanted to break it down. And I, won't go through every single part of this, but just like breaking it down by body, mind, emotions, behavior. So are you noticing that you're feeling more tired frequently, headaches, just worrying, like can't seem to slow your mind down when it does come to restfulness, indecision or foggy thinking, and then does that sometimes lead to lack of confidence, whether it be within yourself or in social settings? We hear that a lot. That's hard to kind of have that confidence in social settings when you have so many other factors happening on top of that. Some depression maybe, or irritability, hard time sleeping. Again, that go, go, go. It's kind of hard to shut off your mind with all of these factors. And then behavior, substance abuse. I know that's something that also happens, that could literally be anything between drinking, smoking, or other recreational drugs as well. That definitely plays effect on your body. Loss of appetite. Hailey's just talking about maybe lack of movement literally just means because you're on the computer all day and you have a hard time finding that break. So finding things to do during the day to reduce restlessness, like that says, so you are able to have a more restful night of sleep, eat better, fuel your body. Hopefully you're seeing the cycle here, and maybe some things that you can relate to. So we know that stress exists again. So what do we do with it? We obviously weren't just going to talk about stress and be like, okay, send me on your way, good luck. But here are some things that we were thinking of that could be helpful. And again, another breakdown. So if you're not the one who likes physical things, you can try mindfulness things or both. So some physical things we're talking about were exercise. So it could be something fun like yoga or Pilates. It could just be going for a walk, even in between, like obviously between your classes, transferring places, or, in between Zoom classes, getting up and taking a lap, whatever that feels good for you. Nutrition, so planning out your meals for the week. We hear a lot that we forget to eat or we don't have time to eat. So planning ahead of time, what can you pack with you on your way to class and continue to fuel your body and take that break, even if that is your self-care of taking a 10-minute snack break and, just a brain break from classes. Resting, organizing your space, being outside, spending time outside. Boone is beautiful, like Hailey said. So getting out there, trying new hiking trails or going to the Greenway with friends and making that like a social piece too. Some mental self-care strategies we talked about were coloring, reading for fun, not for class. I know it's crazy and unheard of sometimes, but reading for fun, learn something new, try something out. There's tons of opportunities in Boone, even if you go out to Stanford Lawn and make a new friend and try playing a new game or throw a ball around or whatever it may be for you. Music, listening to music. And then we move to mindfulness. So meditation, body scans. One great thing about social media and the internet right now is that these things are completely accessible to anyone, which is really great. And one of my favorite things about social media is that you can access tons of apps and guided meditations that way. Using your spirituality. There's tons of groups on campus that you can be a part of. Maybe it's journaling, gratitude journaling, and then that social time that we've been talking about, just having some sort of connection and making sure that you're taking time out of your space to get connected, whether it's in clubs or with individual friends. And then some specific things Hailey and I talked about, and that we have tons of resources here for the counseling center. So if you're interested, we can help you understand more about these, but there's apps, like I said, for meditation that you see in here, for percussive muscle relaxation. But that typically looks like, in a shortened version, I guess, is just like guided tensing and relaxing of all your muscles to try to get some intentional relaxation throughout your day. That can be really helpful. Guided imagery and grounding. I think guided imagery is maybe more common for folks, of like, imagine yourself in this safe space. What does this feel like? And grounding. So, being mindful of your surroundings, like what are some things that you see, hear, smell, things like that. If you're becoming overwhelmed or just kind of want to get back into that mindfulness. Rhythmic movement. Again, this is one of the maybe more uncommon ones. But this could be anything, like going for a run or going for a walk and like focusing on your breathing, like what do your lungs feel like? What does the air feel like against your face? Like whatever that may be for you, whatever your exercise choice is. Typically I hear about running and there's even like, again, music that you can run to, like the beat of the music, so things like that. Creativity, reading, again, journaling, painting, expressive arts, things like that can sometimes we forget to make time for, so that could be helpful. Deep breathing, again, there's apps like Calm and Mindspace that are helpful to have some meditations there and deep breathing exercises that you can check out if you're interested. And also, again, on our counseling center website, we have some resources there. All right, so Hailey and I are going to take this one, but we just staying connected to community. Although Boone does feel very big, like Hailey said, it's a really community-based town, and tons of opportunities to get connected, whether it's in person or online. And one of the things that we thought about were Draba. So if you want to download the app or check them out on Instagram, they're a really great resource for finding out what's going on in Boone generally, with tons of different organizations, like the farmers markets and different social events going on. So that's one thing that we talked about, and Hailey, I'll let you talk about Engage if you want.
Yeah, so Engage, there's campus events and opportunities that are constantly popping up, things like this, but also, in a range of identities and multicultural, everything that's included in what this campus offers. There are events that are happening, whether they're volunteer based or just social events. They happen on campus, off campus. It's just a way for people to come and get together and meet with one another. So constantly keeping an eye out for that as well.
Yeah, I think, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna
No.
say, I think Engage is underrated sometimes of like how much is on there, how much information is on Engage. For sure.
There's so much. The final part to that is volunteering. I know sometimes that might not seem like the most probable option because you feel so busy, but it's a really great way to get involved in the community. There's places like Farm Cafe, volunteering with the farmers market, Food Hub. There's also Habitat for Humanity, the Hospitality House. There's all these resources that are available to, one, get you involved and better understand what, what's outside of the university, but also get you to meet some people who are kind of like-minded and maybe you could get along with.
Love that. All right, so we talked about resources, like where do I start? How do I know where to start? Maybe you're asking that question, and these are just a few of them on campus. There's tons and tons and tons. So some that we initially thought of were, of course, the counseling center here because we are part of the counseling center. And that doesn't even have to be the individual one-on-one counseling that most folks think of. We have groups running throughout the semester. We have workshops just like this one going on throughout the entire semester. Tons of different resources there in terms of topics, interpersonal relationships, stress management, anxiety, all of the above. We also can just offer like a drop-in Let's Talk. It's called Let's Talk consultation. So if you have something very specific that you're thinking of and you just need like a 30-minute conversation with someone, that's a great resource we can utilize. And again, our number's there if you have questions about how that works. Peer academic coaches. So again, this is something that I think is super helpful and really useful and sometimes not known about too frequently. So there's folks at the Student Learning Center that have these coaches and they kind of work through like making schedules, working through your class load. Maybe you have questions about career, they can really be helpful that way. And have their email there. Hailey, do you want to talk about two more or other ones?
Yeah. So Multicultural Center, and we said multicultural because there's an array of things that are available for that. So there's the Multicultural Center, there's also the LGBTQ Center, the Women's Center. All of these resources all are available. There's also like Veteran Affairs, pretty much any demographic or identity that you have that you really resonate with. There are groups and clubs that are available where you can just go and see what they're doing, see if they're doing volunteer work or outreach or just a place to go hang out that feels like a safe space for you to kind of be able to sit and do homework or communicate and connect. There's also the Student Learning Center. This is something that's available for like study tips, like Sammi was talking about earlier, email etiquette. Maybe you need to email your professor and you don't really know how or doesn't feel comfortable, or also things like time management. So many things on your plate, things that you're learning, things that you're doing. Navigating that can be really hard, and maybe counseling doesn't feel super necessary, but kind of getting those tips and tools. The Student Learning Center has so many resources that are available.
Yeah, and then we have some sports. So we generally just put sports because there's tons of organizations on campus, whether it's like club or intramurals to navigate, tons of meetups and opportunities for lots of different options and fun things to meet people that way too. So that's an option, and that information can be found on several different pages like Engage. And then lastly, we put the Office of Disability Resources. So if you're noticing that you need additional support, or maybe there are external barriers or internal barriers that you're facing that you want to put a label on or have questions about, that way they can be a really good source that way to support you through navigating all these changes. And again, these are just a few of the resources we thought of. Tons more on campus that we can offer information about if y'all have questions. Yeah, that's what I have. All right, I think that's all. Thank you.